All right, been putting this one off for a little bit. This is going to be me showing you some books that I have in my collection that I tend to go to often when I'm working on stuff. They're fun to look at. There's a lot of technical aspects behind them. I might cover a little bit of that, but I really just want to show them off. I want to show you guys some cool stuff that I have. Yeah, here, let's just jump into this. Here we go. All right, so this is a selection. This is just a few. I do have some other ones. I believe I got some Joe Benitez black and white stuff, and maybe some other preview editions of other books. I know that there was one that Steve Furkow self-published. I don't recall the name of it right now, but I know there was a sketch cover on the backside, which I did draw on for that one. So, yeah, I'll just kind of show you guys here. So I'll separate them now. So these are, let's see, these are more like previews. These are black and white editions here. So black and white, that's a preview. Black and white, black and white. This is black and white as well. Got my darkness one here. Okay, good. Yeah, I did grab it. This is one of the earlier ones here. All right, so, all right, anyways, yeah, these things are always pretty cool. As an artist, you get to kind of see, depending on which part of their process, this is actually a preview as well. Yeah. So these ones here is, I'm going to assume, the finished line art. The finished line art before it's given to the colorist, all right? So Top Cow did pretty good at keeping it, I mean, pretty consistent, even with the font on these black and white editions. So you got the black and white editions here. I got Witchblade #1. The cover, for some reason, oh, you know what? I think this was actually digitally painted as white. But anyways, the cover is in full pencil. It's a wraparound cover. One of my favorite artists of all times. He's right up there with Mark Silvestri to me, in my eyes. Michael Turner, wraparound. But the interiors are inked. You got Mike Turner on pencils, and then Deweytron, D-Tron, but Dewey, D-U-Y, I believe it was, on inks. And this was a pretty cool book. Let's see. And then I also have, I thought I had number 25. Oh, I guess I did not pull it. I know that I have Witchblade 25 as well, which is actually one of my favorites. Of course, I didn't pull it. Oh well, we'll survive. All right, so Witchblade #1, they also did a black and white edition of Witchblade 25, which I think was the final Michael Turner Top Cow Witchblade comic, and so they decided to do a black and white edition of it as well. I do prefer the 25 to the 1, mostly because by that point, Turner had like really cool detail going on, really cool grasp of using texturized lines, and then also had people like John Ceballo doing inks. I think Joe Weens was inking it possibly, but regardless, D-Tron to me has always been kind of a streamline inker, really clean, very dynamic. A lot of these, I just call them, I don't know, stop and go. They're like these quick dash lines where you get like these thick and thins that don't necessarily connect to everything, but your eyeball makes a connection between them on things like outlines. You can see it right here. This looks much more dynamic, even though it's just a dead flat line. It looks much more dynamic because he actually came in with the thick to thins in between the lines. Obviously right here where it connects to this one here. So little nuances like that are what made Witchblade cool for me. Mostly really the inks and the colors is what stood out. And then obviously, Turner was a master craftsman with the pencil. So anyway, so here's the black and white Witchblade #1. It's basically just the entire first book, black and white with no color. Always fun to revisit. This piece was used for several things. In full color, this piece is a much stronger piece in my opinion. They had used it for trading cards, a variant cover, I think, for Dynamic Forces, a poster that I recall seeing in a shop, things like that. They eliminated these panels here and just used this piece as a central pinup, character pinup. And then in the back here, I don't know why they did this gray. So this book actually could have done without this additional stuff in the back, I think. Just evolution of Witchblade kind of shows you some of the key issues and then character development within them. I don't think that most people purchasing this book would be buying it solely because they want to know the background of Witchblade. It's more so that they're art fanatic, you know. So anyways, all right, so there's Witchblade number 1. Oh, I did get 25. So here's 25K. Sorry, I guess I did not see that. Very strange. Witchblade 25. But I was looking at the corner box. It says number 1, so that's why I missed it. So this one here, yeah, it looks like it is Dewey on inks as well. Awesome piece. I've always loved this piece here. I am going to do something where you can see below the waterline here just for coloring. I'm going to color it myself too. I've always thought this would be a really cool thing to tackle on the coloring side. So I'm going to do something like that. There's several pieces he did this with, Fathom as well. And you know what? I didn't grab... I do have the Fathom black and white as well. I think it's with my... I got some Weapon Zero black and white stuff that I didn't pull out either. Just I had way too many books. But anyways, yeah, cream of the crop right here. Again, I would prefer this Witchblade 25, even though it says 1. It's issue 25. I would prefer it to issue 1. As far as like what you could learn from it as an artist, conceptually, detail-wise, all that. Just a much stronger book, in my opinion. So yeah, and again, this one's always really cool to look at. You get the, you know, Turner always used to do these like large face shots. I don't mind it for filler. They're always powerful angles, nice detail. This piece, for some reason, it oddly reminds me of Ian Churchill for some reason, but I think later on Churchill was inspired by Turner, so that might be why my mind's eye is saying Churchill on that, because Turner didn't really emulate many other artists. I don't feel like it was mostly you know, came up as a Mark Silvestri influenced artist and then kind of went on to his own. But yeah, this is cool too. This stuff here, a lot of flex in this book. A lot of flex. You know, you're not seeing all the silhouettes. You're not seeing all the stuff that a lot of us in the '90s used to. And granted, this was, you know, 2000s. This was not '90s, but still, same era. We're all birthed from the same era. This is an excellent double page spread. This is awesome. The level of detail here, fantastic. Yeah, nothing bad to say. Nothing bad to say about Turner's work. It's always, you know, even if it's stuff like this, it's still interesting to me, just because of the cuts and the angles and the use of like these miniature areas here, where he would leave these little white areas for the colors to come in and drop like a warm hue, like a rim light, you know. Yeah, this tiny panel, I'm like, it's fine because you get this badass face right here. So yeah, this is all fun to look at. Always dynamic, lots of energy to all this work. But again, like if you're on a budget and you have a choice between the two, I do highly recommend this one over this one, just because, you know, you got a few years between the two of experience. This one, he shines. This one is, you know, it's cool for the beginning, you know, of Witchblade at least. He had books out before that, but let's see here. Let's jump to this one. Old studio mate of mine, Andy Parks. So yeah, Andy Park here, who was the artist on the Tomb Raider comic when Top Cow had the license, and inked by another studio mate from Extreme, Jonathan Ceballo. John Ceballo, awesome inker. And Andy was always a fantastic penciler. I think we're the same age. We were both, I'm pretty sure we were both teenagers when I was working at Extreme. So anyways, he always had a little bit more of a Jim Lee flair, in my opinion. Even in the studio at Extreme, when a lot of us were just kind of trying to appease that studio feel of the insane layouts, crazy anatomy and stuff, he always had a little more of a Jim Lee approach to his work. Mostly in the composition of his pages and his figure layouts. But super easy to read. there's again, as an artist, there's a lot you can learn here. A lot of dynamics with different perspectives, different, actually even inking techniques on things like this, where you don't have to be super clean on inking stuff like ground and special effects, blasts. Ceballo was always one of the best I felt like at drawing or inking, energy effects. Gun blasts, explosions, things like that. A little, like, very tiny bit of splatter here, but and Ceballo did actually end up inking a lot of what I was just showing, the Michael Turner stuff on, was it Fathom, I think. So I did see some Ceballo here and there. Always good, always good work. And again, this is kind of interesting because when you have licensed books, I know that there's an approval process. I've worked on several licensed books, and they always had an approval process. They can be daunting to the art team, especially on redos, things like that. And it just kind of kills the fun. That's why I prefer just doing the indie self-published stuff, is because kind of my own boss. And if I think it looks cool, then I'm going to stick to it. But yeah, all this stuff here, again, super easy to read. I would say, so as far as this series is concerned with the Tomb Raider, I feel like Andy kind of hit a stride later than this. So this was issue 1 here, where obviously he went all out. Oh, this is nice too. Yeah, I forgot about this. They got some variant covers back here. The Mike Turner, awesome. Finch one, I like this. This would have been better served to me as a splash, just because I don't know. I just have a weird expectation with covers, like seeing the character's face and everything that's recognizable about it in the forefront. And granted, so this was kind of a gamble. You kind of rolled the dice on this one. Not my favorite Finch piece, but obviously it's awesome. Just not my favorite. I would have preferred a Finch, like something coming at you reminiscent of that era. But anyways, what I was saying with Andy is that I feel like I think like issue 3, it's been a while since I've looked at this run of books. I think I only stuck around for about half of a year on it, and he got better. Yeah, for sure. Definitely got better. So I'm thinking that they were just, Top Cow at least, maybe just capitalizing on the fact that it's issue 1 for Tomb Raider, and keeping with the number 1s being, the black and white. With this one obviously being the exception, which weighed 25. So, yeah, no, always fun. A lot of stuff to learn in here. Texturing, Ceballo's a madman. I'm going to save these for last. This one here, this was a impulse purchase of mine. I'm not familiar with the series. I didn't jump on board. I know they had, the big deal was Straczynski writing superhero comics at the time. I didn't buy into it. I've always been an artist lover before writing. It was a fun-looking book. I ended up seeing this at a shop. I hate to say it. It was in like 50-cent bin, so I grabbed it. And it's got a cool little Kucha is the artist here. And I'm guessing, it says Gorder. I'm guessing that's Jason Gorder on inks. Yes, it is. Okay, so if you want to learn texture, you want to learn rocks and everything else, this might be the book for you. This book is insane. So I'm thinking that these were like, with Ku at least, he was kind of a mid-level artist at Top Cow. Never got the popularity that I would say pretty close to what Finch had during Top Cow, but not quite there. Obviously not, Turner level. So I know that Ku was on, I don't know if it was before or after this run, but I know that he did some fill-in issues on Witchblade, which were fun to look at. Not remarkable story-wise. So, but again, like, this is another book here where you can learn a lot. Okay, so a lot of use of negative space, a la Sin City, Frank Miller-esque. A lot of texturing in here, a lot of heavy shadows. This is something I really like to employ, is, working like a 140% zero, with the darkness levels. It just gives you a lot of play. And then also with the colorist, it opens up some room for the colorist to play a bit with a little bit of texturing, and then some light, some playing with lights here as well. And then like that's awesome too. This right here, it's simplified, but it looks great. This just looks great. You didn't have to draw everything. Followed the same path used here with the 100, I'd say 40, and then 0 with the light exposure level. And then this stuff also good. Yeah, I would say at Top Cow, I would say comparable to like a Gary Frank at DC as like maybe not the most popular artist, but definitely more than competent to do all the jobs. Like they could work on any book and it would be acceptable. Um, yeah, good use of black here. I don't recall what the colorist did here because obviously he'd be heavily in shadow, but he just wanted to make sure that you could see that the kid is doing this incredible feat. Um, Sometimes comics you have to cheat the system, man, like to get the point across sometimes. So that's why I like comics. Well, a lot of people like talk about anatomy and stuff, and I'm just like I prefer comics because if I wanted to do life drawing, I would just do portraits. I wouldn't I wouldn't have never gotten into comic books honestly. This is just more fun to me. You get to be dynamic and you know play with compositions and fake it. This is a really cool face. I've always really liked this panel. That panel, for some reason, that panel stands out to me. Sometimes it's the little things, You'll find one small thing that has a cool nuance to it. Then you got the, I think this was a cover. Yeah, cover gallery. I remember seeing this. I want to say it was like a B. Dalton bookseller that used to start. They started carrying comics in the '90s, or maybe the early 2000s, maybe. But they had this run of books always on their spinners, and I remember peeking through it. Yeah, so this stuff's fun. So they got some cover gallery stuff here. Strong composition, obviously somewhat dated with the rendering. This kind of thing is played out. You don't see this much these days. You see it, but just in a different approach. You don't see like flat dead lines with the hatching anymore. So yeah, fun book. I would say if you're looking for good reference for texturing, anything short of anything short of a Richard Bennett inked book, I would say Rising Stars is a good series to start if you want to learn a little bit of how to draw like comic trees, rocks, boulders, things like that. Leather, excellent artist with it. Darkness, one of my favorite runs of Mark. Short-lived for me, just because Mark didn't stay on the book that long. But this book gets read a lot. I look at it all the time. You could probably tell I'm a Ragetality book. I'm a huge Mark fan. Let's see. So we got Matt Banning on inks, and then of course Mark is the scribbler. Yeah, this whole I can't say enough good things about this. This series, Mark kind of transitioned a bit, so he started doing a lot more angular looks on faces, things like that. A lot of angle. You could see. I feel like the Darkness was Mark going angular. I don't know if he was taking a little bit out of the book of like Brandon Peterson, because Brandon was doing a lot of stuff at the same time on what was it, Arcanum, that really really resembled this kind of a style. It was almost this weird hybrid. It was like this. I feel weird saying this. It was almost like a Michael Golden Top Cow weird hybrid thing. I'm not sure what the reference was, what everyone was looking at, but that's what it reminds me of. So, but yeah, like this, so awesome, so awesome. But yeah, this book's perfect. If you're into art, you're into Mark, you need to own this book. It's the black and white edition of Darkness #1. You need to own this. Everyone should own that. If you're a comic fan, you should own it. After 99, #1, black and white. Is this inked? It is. Okay, so you got a pencil cover here. They got featuring Finch, the artist David Finch. Let's see here. So it says Joe Weems and Victor Lamas are both the inkers on this. I don't know who did what. I do know there were other inkers on this. I've seen other pages that other inkers have posted, but they're not given name credit here. But I do know for a fact there's other inkers involved in this book. All right, so this looks like it is a Weems sign, but I mean this is completely trademark Weems to me. Weems, one of my favorite inkers, somebody that I actually try to emulate a bit. For myself, I look at Danny Mickey, Richard Bennett, Joe Weems, and I mean honestly a little bit of Scott Williams. That's when I approach inks. That's what I think and what I have out on my desk, looking at for inspiration, looking at for different ideas of looking how to approach textures, outlines, all that, you know. As long as you're learning, it's okay. Take out all the reference you need and just keep learning. Yeah, Weems does a really good job with playing with, these textures. Dave Finch has a lot of organic lines throughout all of his work, a lot of organic lines. And what I like about Weems inks on Finch is that he differentiates them. I feel like the approach on the rendering here would be the same as the rendering here, same as the rendering possibly on the metal and the straps. And Weems has a good way of kind of streamlining that. He'll come in and add dollops and stuff to add texture to things, and then he will actually flatten out and add curvature to lines that possibly I can see Finch inking this, and it would have been a bunch of dashed lines, and it would probably have the same texture approach for the straight line as the hair. Granted, color separates it and stuff. On an inking side, I think Weems had a lot to bring to the table on this. Obviously heavily detailed characters, lots of cross hatching. Weems is a master. See, that's what I'm talking about. You got buildings with the exact same texture approach as her coat, and and it's even like the shoulder pads, the leather. These are obviously two different materials, but they have the same. They got the same detail, the set of rules for detailing on that, so it's kind of cool to see the inkers, whoever they were on this, Lamas or Weems, who, in my opinion, both have had the same approach with the line set, the way that they would ink it, and the way they would curve the lines, and do their little dollop, little dollops on it. So yeah, this is awesome right here. You don't get to see this a lot. I feel like this was probably one of the earliest times that I remember seeing Finch pencil something and not work a fade out of every single thing. Like a lot of these hard lines here, and I know it's because of the extreme color coming from this blast here, so it lends a hard light to the figure and everything on this side of the blast. It was cool to see him not. We all have that thing in our bones, like where you want to run rendering from every single shaded line, and he didn't do it. He did a little bit here and a little bit on the leg, but I'm very impressed. That Finch did not do that here in this area, on the skin especially. Again, it leaned more towards allowing the colorist to play with it a bit. So, but yeah, this was a fun book. Also short-lived. I only remember 3 books. I think Finch only worked on 1 or 2 of them. Cool characters, they didn't do enough with it with this style. I know that there's been a couple relaunches. I tried getting into it. It's not Finch, so it's not for me. I'm biased. But yeah, cool, super cool layouts. Everything that they were looking at stylistically at the time, I'm going to guess Mignola and Travis Charest were both hot at the same time around then. So I'm seeing a lot of that in here. And no complaints, because you got it mixed up with some of the Top Cow stuff. This here, I feel like maybe inspired a bit of Stephen Platt's Soul Saga. Some of the ship design, some of the approach to shading. This does feel quite a bit like Fringe Chire Mignola to me. But again, not complaining. I'm glad these books exist. So okay, so for Aphrodite, I would say what an artist or and then Mark Silvestri. Come on, that is ridiculous. So awesome. Got a Turner piece and Benito's. I would say that this Aphrodite 9 black and white edition, okay? And don't let it mislead you. The pencil. See, I think the thing is too. They used a pencil cover for this, so it does. So you're thinking it's going to be pencils. It's not. It's inks. Okay. I would say that this book here specifically would be good for artists who ink their own work or just inkers in general who want to look at new ways of approaching the contour ink lines of characters. I would say that that's what sticks out the most to me in this is the inking figures, contours of figures, things like that. So, and then here, okay, so I'm done with, those are my line art. Those are the fully inked stuff I got. Let's take a peek at these. All right. Darkness, again, one of my favorite, one of my favorites of Mark, even though, yeah, I only did 6 or 7 books. I don't remember. A lot of fill-in artists on that one. So it started before Darkness. It started. You got Cyberforce number 25 with this like super awesome hollow foil, spot foil right here. A lot of people didn't know this that weren't picking this book up. Illustrated by Dave Finch. Okay. In the very back, you get a Mark Silvestri pencil preview to the Darkness in the back of Cyberforce, the oversized 25. $3.95 at the time. This would be a $9.99 book on the shelf today, by the way. So you get, yeah, it says Silvestri, Garth Ennis, and Bat. I think it's only Mark in here. There's no lettering. So what you're going to get is one page by Bat inked. Okay. So Mark Silvestri pencils, Matt Banning inks. A fully penciled page here by Mark. Okay. The X's, for anyone who doesn't know, the X's indicate spot black, right? It's just a way so you don't have to shade it in. A lot of times artists too, a method is you just kind of X it out so you're not having to scribble it and make a messy page. If you draw a detail like this, that usually indicates to the inker, make these lines white. So this is a detail you would want in white, including those hairlines there. And there's lots of ways to approach it, depending on the artistic license you give your inker, or your inker knows that they can take. He would probably do something like this, you know. So something like this here with the white is probably what, and we'll get to see that because I think it's inked up in the other book I'm going to show you in a minute. So yeah, you know, you don't need this book. I think there's only 4 or 5 pages in this thing. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so only 4 pages of preview in here, but you do get to see them in their pencil raw form. So there's Mark's pencils there. You can see where he X'd it out, and then he decided, you know what, I'm going to shade this in. So he decided to shade it in anyways. Didn't have to do that, did it anyways. This is just a bad scan, but it's okay. You still get to see the pencils. Obviously, you get to see these angels, Jackie taking the hit. You see the X's there indicating black. Very cool fade. I would like to attack that. If I was inking that, I would make it look really cool. These effects probably got cleaned up a bit right here by the inker. This page is epic. If I had this page, it would be on my wall in front of my desk and I stare every day. I think this line right here, honestly, I think that's off a Xerox. I think that the Xerox just had a toner issue. Yeah, because that line is not in the book. Or it was, the page was folded and they scanned it and it just showed up for some reason. I don't know. Anyhow, and then of course this awesome full darkness taking out one of the Angelus there. Super awesome page right there. So yeah, Cyberforce 25, you get the 4 pages of preview in the back. And this precedes all other Darkness books, by the way. So I don't know, is it a first appearance? I don't know. It doesn't say his name, but it has it on the credit page before. This preview here, where did I get this at? I think I got this out in Modesto, California at a shop. He had a stack of them. He brought them back from a convention. I don't know which con it was. It was either WonderCon or San Diego, way back in the day. 1996? What year? Yeah, 96, July 96. So it might have actually been San Diego. But yeah, he had a short stack of these. He got at the show. I guess he knew someone at Top Cow, and they gave him a hookup. He got them for sale at a shop, and I got it for $5. So this one here, it's a Darkness Special Preview Edition. I don't recall exactly what's in it. I know that there is a Bill Sienkiewicz pinup, though. Okay, so here's kind of a weird effect they did with that line art last page of that last book I showed you. Okay, so yeah, this one is fully inked. No, it's not. Strange. Okay, so again, you get to see this page again, fully inked. That was in the other one. And if you remember, this page was in black and white pencil on the preview here. So you get to see, I'm just going to open it up for comparison. Here it is. Okay, so you get to see, if you had both, you would get to compare them. You would get to see the pencil and the ink to the exact same page. So you get to see, there's Jackie's face there. You get to see Jackie's face there inked. So that's after Bat gets a hold of it and inks it. You get to see right here, see like the X's indicating black, and you get to see the Badass inks by Bat right there. And what he did, like, look what he did in the hair right there. That's like, you know, it's things like that that, man, it makes me want to ink. And I don't even really enjoy it anymore. And it makes me like want to bust out. Like these fades, like that's so cool. Like his approach to this figure right here was awesome. Obviously, Mark's approach, I'm just saying, with what Bat was able to retain from it was very cool. And then the next two pages, again, it goes right back to the previous ones. Oh, and the nice thing here, look at new scan of the page. That line is no longer here. Remember that line on the other one? So you get a nicer, larger shot of that pencil page. And funny enough, yeah, he blacked it in. Because you remember on the other one, I think it was just X's. So yeah, maybe he did a little more work to it, and then they rescanned it. And then, you know, yeah, you get the same shot here. X's filled it in. And these pages turned out excellent in the actual book. And then let's see here. You get a Bill Sienkiewicz pinup. Bill's 80s work is a legend. I don't like this piece. We're allowed to like and dislike things. Then you get I think this was for Darkness Zero. So this was a Darkness Zero Silvestri penciled, like, 6-page story. And these are the pencils to it. Or actually, no, maybe it was a Wizard 1/2. It was like one of those send-away books. And they ended up reusing it, you know, in like 3 or 4 different printings. Top Cow did. So you get to see Mark's pencils here. Super fun to look at. He actually filled in the blacks here. He's a madman. I wouldn't have done that. I would have just X'd it out. If you have an inker, take advantage of it. Don't smudge your pages. Make sure that the main lines are visible for the ink purposes, and then you know, let them take care of the black on the ink side. I've always really liked this. So this giant rock being held by this creature here, and you get to see that shadow dropping across and the way it folds across the body. That is awesome. That's something I really like, incorporating this sort of thing into books. And this might have been one of the books that, you know, inspired me to do that. If it wasn't this, it was definitely some early Walt Simonson. Simonson used to do it a lot, but Simonson to me is more of a craftsman. Like, I look at his work more for ideas for different compositions, because he's one of the best compositional artists who's ever worked in comics, in my opinion. But yeah, you get to see that really cool Angelus figure there in the middle. I like that she's not dead center of the page. So yeah, but I don't expect any less. Mark knows better. Mark's been around for decades. Even at this point, he was around for decades. This book is 1996. Okay, so really cool double page spread here. Good use of the wings for all that negative space. He could have just folded them back and had them going across here, and instead he whipped them out and up, and then utilized this small area here. The coloring on these pages is super wicked. So he could get away with this, especially in this series of Furcow ink or colors on this book were immaculate. And so this stuff here, I'm sure you know, this is like colors probably like, oh hell yeah. Some colors to probably just throw a grad or, you know, some weird sunset thing. I don't think he did that. I think he actually went in and possibly painted something in there. And then of course the darkness is coming, and you got your little darkling there. So there's that. Enough of that. Here's another early one. This thing is signed by. This is a beater copy, by the way, and the same shop had gifted me this. I think 1997. I think this is Finch's autograph. That's Bat's autograph for sure in gold. And then some reason Benita signed it. I think he had a pinup in it. Anyways, it's a gold foil, a gold foil or gold leaf printing of Ascension. It's a preview edition of Ascension before the book had come out. And I mean, again, to me, this wasn't like a collectible. I know this book can get some bank. Dude, this, yeah, nah, this spine is cracked all to hell. So anyways, it's a bunch of pencil stuff. I'm pretty sure this was another 1/2 or a 0 issue. It was something for like a Wizard magazine, is what my brain is telling me. So it's a little bit of a preview here. All pencils. They did letter it up, and it's only a few pages. You get to see a cool double pager here of a few of the characters. Really fun. This is around the time I feel like David Finch was kind of going a Jay Lee route. Like there was a lot of splatter stuff in this, but I think that with the females especially, they really, really, really looked like Patrick Nagel figures to me. Like this screams Patrick Nagel to me. Even the positioning. The figures though, definitely Travis Charest inspired with the shading and the timeline. It kind of matches up with when Travis was doing that Wildcat X-Men black and white book that everyone was, including me, taking from. So yeah, a couple double pagers, another page here. Yeah, fun stuff. And then, so it's only a couple of pages, very small book. Then you get a Steve Furcow painting here. It looks like it says Finch drew it. Furcow painted it 97. So I'm sure it was hand drawn. And then it looks like a traditional acrylic painting just because of the texture. I'm gonna say it's an original painting, not a digital painting. If it is, good job on emulating that with that texture. I don't think it is. I think it's an original. And then it's funny. They get this page before, and it's all Joe Benitez, like this is great thing. And then you turn it, and you're like, oh, you get a Finch layout and a layout thing. It's bizarre. Sketchbook. It's kind of weird. A lot of missed opportunity. This stuff should have been smaller. This could have been one page and then maybe another pinup. I don't know. Design aspect. This you could live without. I would say these pages are reproduced in a couple of collected editions. Maybe not in the same manner, but they are reproduced. I know the Art of Dave Finch book that I got does have some of that stuff in it as well. Save that one for last. This one here, not a lot of people. I tell people about it and they run out and buy it. They don't really know about it. So Darkness Raw Edition, collecting issues 1 through 3. I don't know which volume of Darkness this was, but it's the one that Michael Broussard and Joe Weems tackled. This is a very large book for a floppy. This could have been a square bound. I think it's 48, might be 56. And it does have additional pages in it in full pencil by Del Keown. Pencil by Broussard. Yeah, it doesn't say. So this is literally lettered versions of Broussard's pages, okay? So this is like an entire 3-issue run of a Darkness set of books, which I actually do not own in full color. I only own this book. And I found this book on accident a few years ago. And I tell people about it and they run out and buy it. Broussard, completely from the Skull of Silvestri, and that's okay. That's what I like. So you get to see... puts a lot of ownage. And the more that I look at this, the more I'm thinking that Broussard possibly was a ghost penciler for Mark on several projects. These faces remind me a lot, especially the females. It reminds me a lot of the faces in that Marvel stuff that Mark was drawing. The Civil War book, and then there was another one. There was an X-Men book. But anyhow, I feel like Broussard's been around. Um, a little bit more of a cleaner, curvier mark. But definitely got the. I mean, that's Silvestri. That's Silvestri. Um, it kind of, again, it makes me kind of think maybe vice versa. Maybe Broussard was doing some assists with Mark. Um, Ghosting, pencil assisting, ghosting, paid under the table. I've done that plenty in my life. A lot of work of mine floating out there too, without name cred. It's just part of the industry, so I don't think they operate that much anymore that way. It still does exist though. Um, yeah, so this is a cool book. You get to see some pages looser than others. Who did they say inked this? I think it said Weems. Yeah, it doesn't say. I'm going to assume that Joe Weems inked this series because he inked the cover right here, right? And Weems would obviously handle this like a boss. Joe Weems is a professional, and I've never seen one thing Joe Weems tackle that did not turn out excellent. Lots and lots of Joe Weems through the years. Man, maybe I should pick this up. Like I really dig these smaller panels here, these action panels. The figure art on these is rad. I'd really like to see what Weems did with this, especially like the veins and some of the white. There's going to be some whiteout stuff going on here, like where you have wrinkles and veins and detail where the white it kind of lends itself to you doing some white detail up through the neck. And so I'm kind of curious what he did there. Yeah, a couple big shots, different shots of characters there. So yeah, this stuff's fun. This stuff's just fun. That's fun art. Sexy. A lot of sexy line usage there. Let's see. I'm trying to here. I'm going to skip through some of this just because it is kind of redundant and no one knows really what's going on here. But let's see here. I know that there are Keown pages in here. Yeah. So here you go. So this is a Keown page here. So here's a Dale Keown page right here. Some of this backup stuff, and I think it tied into Dale's. This is a Dale Keown page here as well. I could tell from the faces and the rendering style on the heads. This is Broussard page. I'm pretty sure that this one and the one before is Broussard, but I'm pretty sure this is Keown here. Especially, yeah, because the anatomy and the way the wispy lines on the abdomen there, that's a very Keown thing. This is very obviously a Dale Keown face here. So this is a Keown page. I think this is Broussard because of the rendering. Keown doesn't do stuff like this on muscle textures. He doesn't do that. Yeah, that's obvious. Yeah, it's Broussard. That's a Silvestri face. But again, I'm more Keown here. Fun book. Super fun book. You get to see a lot of... It's oddly enough, you get to see a lot of Mark's approach to textures and even layout design because Broussard obviously studied him as good as anyone else, So a lot of these approaches, like this is a very Silvestri panel here, even this one here with them talking and, some of the foreshortening, some of the stuff in your face with, the characters, the 1-point perspective type panels, very Mark thing. This is Keown, obviously. So it's kind of funny to see it teeter-totter between the two because they actually kind of match slightly, just enough where it doesn't look odd. Yeah, Broussard page, very Silvestri-ish faces. Obviously, Keown. It's got Dale Keown stuff is just really easy to spot. This might actually be the first page Broussard drew with that scientist. So you can see a huge difference between this and Keown's approach to that. Keown scientist, you can see it right here, and then Broussard, a lot darker, a lot more lines. So yeah, anyway, so there's that book there. Big book. It's the Darkness Raw edition. I don't know another way to describe it. So if you're going to look it up, Darkness Raw edition, collects issues 1 through 3. If you like Top Cal-esque previews, I suggest it. Another one, a lot of people don't know about this. Tom Judge, End of Days #1. Clayton Crane pencil. You got Glapian inks in it, right? So I found this one on accident years ago. Man, where is it? Coppa Comic in Merced, California. This was sitting in the front of the new releases, and I picked it up and I was like, oh, it looks like Capullo kind of. And I was like, that's not Capullo's art though. And I thumbed through it, and I was like, well, I'm getting ready to put it back on the shelf. Like, no, I'll pass. Like, it's not. I'm a purist. Like, if it wasn't Greg, I wasn't picking it up. So I get so I get towards the back here, and I'm like, wait a minute, what? And I flip it, and I'm like, oh, so you got a Mark Silvestri that's a preview for this one shot. Okay, he did this one shot book called Evo way back, and it tied into the series somehow. And I think that the issue number 1 to it was actually a third part of whatever storyline. I wasn't following it, but it's Mark Silvestri art, so I'm gonna pick it up. But anyways, yeah. So if you find Tom Judge in today's number 1, it is a flip book. You do get a couple pages of fully inked Silvestri Evo pages. I don't know of another preview for this book. I only know of the full color edition. I've not seen black and whites to this after this. So anyways, yeah, Evo preview on the back of Tom Judge, number 1. So you get the world he's designing here. You get a little bit of that. And by the way, this was left very open because these characters have multiple. Think of like Tron. The color approach to these books was, oh, that's hilarious. It says stat of guy plus overlay. Yeah, this was a stat page. So a stat basically is you take the artwork and you basically do a cut and paste in Photoshop. On originals back in the day, they used to actually do a photocopy and literally paste a photocopy of within the boundaries of that panel from another page or that same page if you wanted to do an effect of like, someone disappearing or whatever. So yeah, but anyways, yeah, think of like Tron where you have light source coming from every direction. It's blue, green, yellow, a little bit of pink. And that's kind of how this was approached. Very metallic-y, very reflectively. So that's why it's drawn so open. But still, excellent figure work. A little bit of laziness, got some stats going on here, but it might just be because it entailed a lot of redundancy, and a lot of us artists don't want to draw the same thing 3 times in a page. Unless there's like a huge transition between, the way that it would look. Like a werewolf transformation, something like that. Cool faces, total Mark face right there. But yeah, anyways, just a few pages of a preview here for Evo, and then that's it. Yeah, then it goes back to the other book. So here, I'll do a page count for you. So you get a special preview edition of. They use the interior front cover. They utilize interior back cover actually for page 1, and you get page 2. Page 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. In the printed book, I believe there's a double page splash of them before this. I feel like before, maybe after. Maybe before this page, but there is a double page splash of all them standing. That would have been really cool to see in black and white. But yeah, this book's awesome too. So anyways, yeah, if you can find this for like next to nothing, I don't imagine why you wouldn't. The story didn't stick. I mean, it's obviously not being turned into a film or video game or whatnot. It's not a key issue in my opinion. Tom Judge, End of Days number 1. Backside, you get to see those really, really cool Mark Silvestri preview pages. Oh, I didn't even mention the inker. So they inked by Matt Banning, Bat, all right? Same team that did Darkness. And let's see here. Pencil. Oh, see, here you go. Pencil and assist. You got Ebass and Joel Gomez on pencil assist. So, more than likely, characters were drawn by Mark, and then small panels and backgrounds was probably the other 2. And it's usually, for time-saving reasons, or you just hate your job and you just want to draw characters. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, so those are a handful of them. It's probably a long video. Thanks for sticking it through.